What's up, everybody? Another educational video with Adriana, the remedial massage therapist.
Hands of magic. Magic
How are you?
hands. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
What are we talking about this time?
Well, what I'm detecting a lot in the gym is we're all good at doing the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody loves strength training.
Yes.
A lot of people hate cardio, but they do it every now and then. But everybody
That
loves.
would be me.
You hate the cardio or you like the cardio?
I mean, like, I know there's a lot of benefits to cardio and I do it every once in a while, but yes.
It's a long answer towards,
I
don't do cardio.
I don't do cardio that often.
And
Sometimes I do it.
Look, I don't do that much cardio. I mean, I do cardio in other forms. I'll
Yes.
cycle or I'll play football or whatever. And look, so I can't blame our athletes for hating cardio.
And I'll walk to the coffee shop.
Yeah. That sort of counts, right? It's steps.
That's
and coffee
steps.
shop.
Yeah,
Walks.
precisely.
So everyone's doing the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone loves squats and all of the leg accessories that follows. Everybody loves upper body strength and all of the accessory that follows. Push, pull,
Push, pull, yeah.
bench press, you name it. Chin ups, hangs,
Yeah.
crazy shit on bars, deadlift days. Everybody loves deadies. They feel the instant benefits.
Sure.
All of and everything that accompanies deadlifts, there'll be other accessory work in there.
Yeah, yeah.
But then the coaches and we get frustrated because on their day, they might not be having enough days off and enough recovery, but even on their recovery days, they're not really optimizing their recovery for the next lift day, right?
Yes.
And we get frustrated because we're like, hey, the recovery is important and you can't just do the fun stuff
Yeah.
and neglect everything else because
Yes.
that has
Repercussions.
Yeah.
And it will eventually limit you from being able to go harder or go heavier or do more sessions in the gym because we're starting to get that restriction of movement with no mobility work.
Yes.
So I'm guessing what you're asking is what should we do in the interim?
Well, I am. So what do you think, but before we get there, say somebody's moving without the recovery and they're just doing nothing else other than lifting weights 3 or 4 times a week, maybe an occasional walk, maybe an occasional run, and sometimes they'll do random things, outdoor hike with their mates or touch footy or so say they're doing all of those things, but they're not really investing time in movement or mobility or
massage?
stretching or massage or triggering or release. What do you think will happen to their body? Or what do you see happen, generally speaking? I know it highly depends case to case.
Usually aches and niggles start to come on. They might kind of rock up to gym the next day and they're like, my glute's feeling a little bit tight.
Yep.
I'm feeling a little bit restricted at the bottom of my squat, or I don't feel like, me pushing through a bench is as easy. They're starting to put on more weight, and then what was niggles starts to become maybe minor tears, little mini injuries, just because they haven't counteracted with mobility or with recovery.
Is audio okay? Cool. Sorry, with mobility or recovery?
Yeah. So we want to start to think, okay, what's the end range of the bottom of the squat? Can we sink to the bottom of the squat comfortably? What does that involve? And that's when someone like you might come along and go, okay, we need sufficient ankle mobility, we need sufficient mobility in our hips to be able to sit in the bottom of the squat and comfortably move through that range. And then same with benching, we want to be able to retract back through our shoulders, we want to be able to have that full range going at the end or at the top of the bench. So we kind of want to be mobile in those end ranges and in those points, and we want to feel comfortable doing it. So we want to kind of increase that strength in that range. And if people don't have enough mobility or strength in that range, then it makes it harder to be able to go and lift harder or squat deeper or squat heavier, things like that.
I like where we're going with that. It's like that end range. You might be okay here, but like at the bottom of your bench, when you come here, if you're compromised, then you'll have a hard time.
Exactly. Your body does compensate.
Yeah.
It will start to put itself in and shift itself in positions to try and counteract it. And that's when other injuries occur, and it's just this big flow-on effect. And that's usually when people start to come to me. They're like, oh, you know, I have been feeling these niggles and I haven't been able to go further with this or with that. And it's not because of maybe necessarily what they're doing in the gym, it's what they're not doing out of the gym.
Yes.
Which might be, you know, going to see a remedial therapist, going to see, I don't know, maybe going for a yoga session or a mobility session or a movement session. And it just, I guess it's investing that time in yourself and knowing that when you do invest that time, you will see benefits from it. And I always see stretching, mobility and movement as the same as when you're lifting. The more you put into it, the more you see out of it. You can't expect to walk into a gym and suddenly do a 180 kilo squat. You need to slowly work up to that. And same with stretching and mobility. It takes time to lengthen and get used to those sort of positions. And it is very much a long-term game when it comes to strengthening. Well, it comes to stretching.
So they can strap themselves in. There's no quick fix.
There's no quick fix. There never is.
No. And
never is.
Recommendations from me, I guess, is try and form some habits that work for you. For example, what works for me is I try and do my movement and my mobility stuff that you and I plan out in between my accessory work. I won't mess with it if I'm doing a big lift like squats, bench or deadlift, but if I'm doing some back off sets, or sorry, some accessory sets on, let's say, leg extensions or lunges or chin-ups, whilst I'm waiting for my body to recharge in between, I'll throw in our mobility drills. Works for me, it might not work for somebody else. I know some of our members love their night routines. So this is why the boys are very good. The boys.
It's still there. It's coming closer.
There's a fire in the gym.
They're after me.
So 3, 2, 1. So with their night routines, some of us love winding up the night with 15 or 20 minutes of mobility or stretching or recovery, and that works for some people. Others like to dedicate a full-blown workout in the gym, and that's fine as well, right? Like on their day off in between their lifts or in between more vigorous workouts, they can come in and invest 30 to 45 minutes and have a detailed plan.
Which is great. Some people don't do either of those. And that's, I think, a lot of the times where I come into their life and they're like, I don't do recovery, I don't do enough mobility, I don't do enough stretching. I need you to help me push this range of strength, range of mobility and stretching, all that sort of stuff. So we'll do a lot of that sort of recovery work in my room. But for me, once again, I'm always like, I can't be your fix-it. Otherwise, you're going to be spending so much money every week coming to see me when you could be doing stuff for yourself at home just as easy. But some people like that. Some people are like, no, this is what I want to pay you to do. I want to come in here and I want to just do my recovery work with you and continue on my strengthening path. And that's okay. As long as I tell them that that's the case. And, you know, some of them are more than willing to put in the money and put in the time and effort to see me, and that's enough for them. That's kind of just what they want to do. They don't want to think about it outside of the gym or outside of seeing me. But at least I can say, like, I have put my hand up and I've told them this is what you can do for yourself. But if you don't want to do it and this is your path of recovery, which is with me, then at least I guess they're doing something.
Okay, so let's say that our client has not been doing any of this recovery stuff before, but after our chat, they're like, yeah, I believe in Svet and Adriana's recovery advice. So I'm about to start doing something. I was doing all of the fun stuff before, but now I want to invest time and energy into my own recovery. Where do we recommend they start? Where's
a good place to start?
Where's a good place to start, and what should they do specifically? Let's give them some juicy bits that work for your lifter that's hitting squat, bench, deadlift.
Yeah. Well, it's good to go see a remedial therapist because then we can actually see where your restrictions lie and where you might be having trouble with your lifts. So then we can have a look at where the restrictions are and then go from there. So I'll be like, okay, your thoracic's really tight. It's limiting you in this and this and this. So let's loosen that off. And then I can say, okay, I need you to do mobility movements at home. We're working through articulation of the spine, range of motion, and it doesn't have to be specific. You can go do a yoga session or something else, or foam rolling. Foam rolling is really good, but from there we just want to start incorporating stuff to do in between your lifts. So I might usually give them take-home advice of like, okay, I need you to do a little bit of like extension exercise work, and you incorporate that in between certain lifts. But what do you want to do
for the drills?
Yeah, for the drills. Do we get
well, I think that's a really good start for them, right? Where it's like, what you're saying is it's individualized, because it's very hard for us to give them concrete advice, because what would benefit one lifter might not benefit someone else at all. So see a remedial massage therapist, get a good assessment, and then go from there. And then next up, Adriana and I will try and come up with some hot tips based on what we're seeing in the gym, right? So for example, with squats, a lot of our lifters are tight and stiff, and they're having trouble hitting depth. So they're squatting high, and we're trying to get them to hit parallel and go below parallel, right? So that's squats. But with the other thing that might be happening with squats is they're having a hard time staying tight under the barbell. Bench, they're having shoulder things because they're having a hard time.
They might not be able to draw back as much.
Yeah, draw back or retract under the barbell. So the shoulder things. And then with deadlifts, getting that good, efficient starting position down the bottom is troublesome because they are a bit kyphotic, or they do a lot of work. So there's a bit of thoracic stiffness and tightness through there. So we could work off those three and see what we come up with.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good.
Let's do it. Whoos! We're back on. So we're now talking take-home drills, right?
Yes. So I feel like squats are your department.
Cool.
So I want to know what is firing in a squat.
Cool.
And then we can work around with that and help decompress what we've just compressed.
Cool. Okay. So before I walk up under a barbell, so the bar's sitting there, I'm coming underneath, I've got a brace, boom, I'm lifting the load up, I'm doing my walkout under the barbell.
Sure.
I'm setting up. There is a bit of compression going on, right? Because there's load.
There's load through the back.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of load through the back here. So we're then taking a breath in, bracing through the core.
Yeah.
Boom. Working our way down for a squat.
Into a squat.
Yep.
Sure.
And
driving back up.
Driving back up, yeah. So
we're using a lot of glutes, quads, hamstrings.
Glutes, quads, bit of hammies. There's a bunch of core. There's also a bit of upper back going on because we're gripping. Gripping the barbell, working our way down.
And I noticed we need to have a certain amount of ankle mobility as well.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have a certain amount of ankle mobility, and we want to have good depth range down at the bottom of the squat.
Cool. All right, let's start with that.
Yeah,
it's a good starting point,
point
before they come in and catch up with a remedial massage therapist.
Cool. So one of the stretches we can do is a knee to wall stretch for your ankles. Working back through here. So bring your foot back. Slowly driving the knee forward, working that pressure and coming back through. And you're going to keep working that range coming back. How does that feel to you?
It feels all right. I actually think I'd benefit from a bit more of this one.
Okay.
The ankle
and then you can do, you know, if you're feeling comfortable at that point, you can slowly draw your foot backwards and work more through that. If you wanted something that's a little bit more load, then we can work off the edge of the stairs.
Could we hit it? How many minutes, how many sets, how many reps? What's our advice to them?
I would say upwards of 5 to 10 reps on each side.
5 to 10 reps.
And I would probably do at least 3 sets.
Okay. And progressively, as we get mobile and our ankle range improves, we can creep away to make it more difficult. We can creep away.
And you know what? The first set can be nice and close to the wall. Second set can be a little bit further out. And the third set can be a little bit further out even more to help drive that knee over the toes and get that range a bit better.
Okay.
The next one we can do is working through the hip flexors. Because we've just loaded up this whole area, we want to help stretch and lengthen them back out, because too much of one thing is once again not good. We want to counteract it.
Okay.
So we'll do a bit of hip flexor stretching.
Do you want me to jump in and then you can...
Yeah, jump in. So we're going to have one leg there. Drawing in through the spine. Firing your glutes, squeezing. We want to feel that posterior sort of tilt. And you're pushing your hip forward without sort of lunging. And you're going to draw up through the spine and then use your left arm up over your head to help stretch and lengthen through the front of that hip. Feeling that? So we can start a bit passively, and then we can start working a bit more actively into it. So you can reach up and then draw off that tension, reach up again and draw off the tension.
So glutes on, hips forward.
Squeezing your glutes, lengthening up through the spine. Now, if you were doing that before a squat session, I would do it a little bit more actively. And then maybe after a squat session, you can sit there and hold it for longer periods of time. So we're doing more of a static stretch at the end of the session. Or even in the interim, a day after.
More static after the workout or the day after, but more dynamic if it's intra-workout and you're still going.
Exactly. We want to kind of keep the blood pumping and blood moving, that sort of thing. Next one we can do is like a glute stretch.
A glute stretch?
A glute stretch.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the easiest one to do is, you can either do it on the floor or we could do it seated. I don't know. If you're lacking mobility, seated is good.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to get you sitting here. So we're going to try a glute stretch.
If we take my right side, everything's a bit stiffer, so I'll go my less flexible side.
You want to go the most flexible.
Oh, go most flexible?
Well, I
was
mean,
going to go least.
Yeah, the least.
Yeah, this is my least.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So bring this leg a little bit further out.
I'm already feeling a stretch. This is a problem.
You're struggling. So when we go into leaning forward, we don't want to start to tilt in that posterior position. We want to maintain that hip hinge leaning forward, so we really target that glute muscle. So slowly lean forward. Are you feeling it? Yeah. And if we want to intensify it a little bit, we just push the knee down a little bit. Okay. And then what we can do is slightly rock to one side and slightly rock to the other side. I don't like that. Do you feel that one? I feel it more when there's like a box there.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm feeling a good stretch.
You're feeling a good stretch, yeah. So If you're lacking hip mobility, this is for you. Okay? Well, glute mobility, I should say that.
Cool.
If you're lacking glute mobility, this is for you. If you're not, like me, then you sit on the ground. And you can, so once again, this is like anterior tilt, one leg up, intensify that anterior tilt and lean nice straight back, leaning towards your legs. And you'll feel it all through that glute med and glute min sort of area.
Okay.
If you were wanting more piriformis, because piriformis sort of like shortens when we go towards like a seated position, you know, like through here, how it like tightens up.
Yep.
One leg out, one here. This one's really hard. We want to sit on top of our ischium bones and create, once again, that anterior sort of neutral sort of tilt. And we're drawing our knee up towards the opposite shoulder. And we will be sort of lifting our foot off the ground. So we're drawing in and coming up. And that will get right in towards that piriformis. Sometimes you'll feel a grab through the front of the hip. So you need to kind of relax off a little bit, find a comfortable position, work through it again, sit up nice and straight and draw in. And we're keeping our spine fairly neutral as well. We're not rotating through the spine. It's just drawing. We don't want to get lazy and start to compress. We're not going to feel it. So we really have to feel that straight spine, drawing our knee up towards the opposite shoulder and relaxing into it, breathing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bench press.
Bench press, let's go.
So let's have a look at what we're dealing with a bench press, and then we can reverse engineer it from there.
Sounds good.
Cool. So normally the barbell, you can be my barbell rack. So you're holding it, I'm setting up for bench, I make my way down. I want to retract my shoulder blades before I begin. I'm looking for a lot of leg drive through my feet. I'm retracting, my butt stays down, I collect the bar, breath in, working my way down, back up.
So what I'm seeing in here is a lot of thoracic opening, hips pushing up towards the ceiling, and drawing down through the shoulders. So we need to have a good length of the pecs, right?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so standing up. Where are you feeling that mostly?
I feel like in terms of tightness?
If you feel, say, like do a solid sort of bench session, where are you feeling sore?
So probably through here. Mostly through the chest, maybe a bit of triceps. But what I see in the gym is a lot of our athletes will have problems with like that.
Opening up through the chest.
Yeah, or if they say they're extending their arms on the way up, they might be like, ooh, it's coming this way.
Okay. Instead of having that drop and
having that good control through the shoulders to be open the whole time.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's getting into that shoulder blades retracted position.
Okay. Right, so we're going to go on hands and knees.
Yeah.
And we're going to work through rotation and extension through that upper back. So hand comes through. And we slowly get to a point where probably we can't feel like we go any further. And then we draw ourselves back and opening up, extend that arm up to the roof. And then coming back through and repeating the drill probably a good 5 times.
Yep.
And taking your time and feeling each endpoint is really, really important. Going through once more, dropping down, letting your arm come through a little bit further, and slowly reaching up to the sky, opening up through the chest, and creating much more a rotation. Excellent. So that's the first one.
Cool.
And then the next one we want to do is just a simple thoracic opener, where you're laying on top of the foam roller, and you want to stay within your rib cage region, right? So we start anywhere from the mid-back upwards. I like this one. Probably start maybe at the bottom of the thoracic. Yeah. We start here, and we slowly lengthen back. Have your arms out to the side. Does that feel fairly stiff to you?
It feels really nice. Yeah, it feels a bit stiff. Yeah.
Sometimes if that's too much, you can pop a towel underneath your head just to help support yourself, so you don't feel like you can't go any further and you're not straining to hold it.
Yep.
So
but on the ground with this one?
Butt on the ground if you're flexible.
Okay.
If you're probably not as flexible, you might want to lift up first and then slowly draw your butt down towards the floor. Good. Once you feel comfortable in that sort of position, we're going to sit back up, move the roller up a little bit higher, and
is that a good
go
spot?
Down again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start with the butt up.
Start with the butt lifted.
Yep.
And slowly draw your arms back, and then slowly drop your butt down towards the floor. Breathe into it, take a few deep breaths. After a good 10 breaths, I reckon, we can sit back up, and if you want to go one step up higher, this will be the final sort of phase. Drawing back. And if you feel like you want to draw your butt down, you can drop it back down again. The upper thoracic's a little bit harder to get into the further you come up the roller, but that should be enough. Cool.
Okay, so we're talking bench press?
We're talking bench, and we want to work through the pecs. So we're going to do some hanging. That's going to help lengthen through our shoulders and create a little bit more healthy stability through this area. So jumping up on the bar. This is if you're a bit more advanced, you just want to sink into it, have shoulder width apart, working your way up to, say, 30 seconds.
Up to 30 seconds,
30
even
seconds.
longer if possible?
Even longer if possible.
Or it might be a 5-second start to begin with, and then we progress to 10, progress to 15, progress to 20.
Yeah, exactly. If you're finding that's too hard, we want to regress back to putting a box underneath you or a bench, and we'll do the exact same thing, but take the weight out of our legs.
So, a regression.
And a good regression. Same sort of thing, having tippy toes on the box and just sinking into it, practicing that relaxation.
What's your thoughts on dead hang versus active hang?
They both have their benefits.
Yeah, I
For
agree.
sure. One's a bit more of a strengthening component, and one's more of a lengthening sort of component.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends what it is that you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But an active hang might be a nice sort of build up into, say, a bench, because you're starting to activate those muscles that you want to use, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So there's that one. Pec stretching. You can find a door frame. This is a little bit further out than I would usually use, but we can focus on one side at a time.
Okay.
So elbow on the bar, hand on. This is going to be targeting your pec major, slowly leaning in. And this one's a bit more of a supporting arm, and we're just leaning in, going through that sort of passive to active sort of feel. Next one, arms up, pec minor. Once again, have that as a support. Slowly lean forward, and you'll feel the stretch more up through pec minor. I think that one's a really good one. And the last one is more subclavius, which is hand same height as shoulder, elbows relaxed, and leaning forward, if you need to, take a step forward and you'll feel that working down through here.
Cool.
I think that's probably a good one to finish on as well.
Cool. Yeah. Bench done.
Bench is done. I'm going to go on hands and knees.
Yeah.
And we're going to work through rotation and extension through that upper back. So hand comes through and we slowly get to a point where probably we can't feel like we go any further, and then we draw ourselves back and opening up, extend that arm up to the roof, and then coming back through and repeating the drill probably a good 5 times.
Yep.
And taking your time and feeling each endpoint is really, really important. Going through once more, dropping down, letting your arm come through a little bit further, and slowly reaching up to the sky, opening up through the chest, and creating much more a rotation. Excellent. So that's the first one.
Cool.
And then the next one we want to do is just a simple thoracic opener, where you're laying on top of the foam roller, and you want to stay within your rib cage region, right? So we start anywhere from the mid-back upwards. I like this one. Probably start maybe at the bottom of the thoracic. Yeah. We start here, and we slowly lengthen back. Have your arms out to the side. Does that feel fairly stiff to you?
It feels really nice.
Yeah.
It feels a bit stiff. Yeah.
Sometimes if that's too much, you can pop a towel underneath your head just to help support yourself, so you don't feel like you can't go any further and you're not straining to hold it.
Yep.
So
but on the ground with this one?
Butt on the ground if you're flexible.
Okay.
If you're probably not as flexible, you might want to lift up first and then slowly draw your butt down towards the floor. Good. Once you feel comfortable in that sort of position, we're going to sit back up, move the roller up a little bit higher, and
is that a good
go
spot?
Down again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Butt down, butt up.
We start up with our butt up and just
Might hold you there. Start with the butt up.
I love how we're like,
come on, bro.
okay.
Start with the butt up.
Start with the butt lifted.
Yep.
And slowly draw your arms back, and then slowly drop your butt down towards the floor. Breathe into it, take a few deep breaths. After a good 10 breaths, I reckon, we can sit back up, and if you want to go one step up higher, this will be the final sort of phase. Drawing back. And if you feel like you want to draw your butt down, you can drop it back down again. The upper thoracic's a little bit harder to get into the further you come up the roller, but that should be enough. Cool. That's it.
That's it? Deadlift's done.
Deadlift's
cool.
done.
Out. That's it.
That's it. I feel
Everything
like
done.
that's some good accessory mobility exercises in regards to deadlifts, bench, squats. I feel like we've covered a good round.
I think so too. A really good starting point for a lot of our athletes.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can individualize it and customize it as needed for certain type.
But for your general sort of everyday gym goer, I feel like that's a good place to start. And if you feel like you've got niggles or something beyond what's going on, then it's always good to seek advice from a health professional, whether it's from someone like you who will then refer on, or someone from like me and I can refer on. That's always a good place to start.
Yeah. I think the underlying message today has been quite good in terms of we can't just do the fun stuff. We can't just hit the weights and do all of the compressive stuff. It's important to invest the time and the energy in getting the body to decompress, open up, and that'll help. Yeah, it'll help us with our performance in the gym, and we'll also find benefits spilling out outside of the gym with everyday life performance or other things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's gymnastics or good posture at work or powerlifting. Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah. I think that's it.
Thank you for joining me in today's educational session. It was fun.
Thank you.
Oos.
We'll get there.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, share your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Hit the subscribe button because we've got heaps more content coming up soon. We're always looking to have fun creating this educational stuff.
And I'll get a lot more comfortable talking in front of a camera.